Hello, hello, hello,
Hello.
everyone. Great. Let's see, everybody. Good. Hello, welcome, everybody. Wow, it's so nice to see everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us of day 6 of International Nature Journaling Week. Oh, it's just started pouring rain here. I hope you can hear me. Um, Today's theme is care, and we have a very special leader today, Melinda Nakagawa from Spark in Nature. And we also have Ivea here, who is part of our volunteer force behind International Nature Journaling Week. I'm Karina Berdar. You'll see me on Facebook as Coco. I help moderate the group and make sure things are running. And we are a very small group of volunteers that keep this going. If you were at Jack's talk last night, you did hear him speak about that. And I have to remind people that there are also costs involved. And while this is a free event and we want to make it accessible to everyone, we do very much appreciate donations to help cover the costs. And so, Iver, I will pop the link into the chat just as a little reminder. If you have the ability to show your appreciation in a monetary way, we love that. And we love all forms of appreciation. So thank you. I think that's all we needed. Melinda is probably known to many of you, and she's a wonderful guide to our topic today, which is care. So, Melinda, I can hand it over to you if you're ready. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see all of you here. Thanks for making time out of your day, morning, evening, whatever time zone you're in. I'd love for you to go down to the chat and maybe pop in, where are you joining us from? What part of the world? This whole week has just been amazing with people in different time zones. And I know there's some confusion with what time things are in the day, but it's good practice for us, right? To understand that we are not all, focused on the time zone that we're living in, but that we are a global community. So I'm just going to give you just a minute there to pop in where you're from. I am from Central Coastal California, near the center of the coast of California. Is a little divot, like a little U shape. It's like a someone had come and taken a bite out of California, and that's where I live, in Monterey Bay. And I'm not far from the ocean, so I'm just going to go on over to the chat. Everyone should go over and just scroll around and see who's here. I'm just going to scan here: Colorado, Texas, Utah, Missouri, Grenada. Let's see, London, Ontario, Canada, New York, Texas, Japan, British Columbia, other parts of the United States. We also have the Pacific Northwest, Alaska, someone from Alaska joining us. We have Sydney. Oh my goodness, New York, Tennessee, other places in the US. Let's see here. All right, so we've got all the way to Boston and Virginia and across in New York and across to the US West Coast to Washington and California. So welcome, everyone. And I hope that you've been enjoying this week so far. Even if you can't participate every day, it's okay. As the facilitators, we really wanted to make this celebration to be easeful and not to be like low pressure, right? There's enough going on in our world that we just wanted to have you celebrate nature and nature journaling with these themes that might stimulate developing a deeper connection to nature. All right, so today's topic is care. And when I was thinking about care, the cool thing is I think all of these topics this year have been, looks like I'm just gonna look up here, have been broad enough that we can kind of apply them to a lot of different things. So the way that I was thinking about care was twofold, or maybe maybe default, is that when we care for nature, that we show attention and consideration, and we're concerned for the well-being of nature. That's one way that we might approach the care topic, or we might approach care as care for ourselves, our inner nature, our well-being, whether it's emotional or physical or mental, or creative or spiritual, whatever, all these different aspects of us. So I thought we'd explore some different ways that we can bring care, the topic of care, into our nature journal, our examination with nature, our wanderings in nature. So I think in the introduction, I had written a few ideas of how you might be able to, how you might approach looking at care. And you can go and look at that later on. I'm just going to dive in and I'm going to share my screen, and we're just going to go. I've been thinking about this, and we're going to see what wants to come out onto the page today. Let's see here. Okay, and let me know if there's any issue with being able to see what I'm writing. Okay. All right, so here's today's topic. I'm going to do this kind of like a sketchnoting style because it helps me slow down when I'm writing, and I thought that might be helpful for everyone. So, when I think of care, I'm thinking of, bear with me, my drawings are, I'm still working on drawing anything related to people. So I think you could kind of make out what this might be, right? So here's little hand. I'm thinking of like, holding in our hands, right? This idea of, is that right? Caring. Okay. I think we can make out what that is. The hands holding the word care. And when I think of care, I think of, different ways that we might look at nature. So when we're looking at nature, we might look at caring for nature. Might care for an individual plant. Maybe how it grows, how it sprouts, how it turns to flower, how it turns to seed, and follow that, follow its life. We might care for an animal that, maybe comes to our yard or somewhere close to us, and we're watching it move around, and we watch its interactions, and we watch what it eats, maybe where it hides, where it sleeps, and its interactions and how it's connected to the other things around. We might be looking at the weather. Maybe it's where we're getting a string of really hot sunny days, or maybe we're in a drought, or we're having a rainstorm, like Karina, and we're just interested in, watching the weather. How does that affect the other kinds of nature that we have? Plants, it might be an animal encounter, it could be weather, and the things that we might receive from nature. Here's might be a tree, right? A tree here, and some of the things we might receive from nature might be, I'm just going to fill this in. You might have your own list too. You can feel free to pop into the chat. What are the things that we might get from nature, receive from nature? So one thing I was watching Jean McKay's video, and she talked about beauty, right? Beauty is absolutely something that we can get from nature. Calm, solace. How about food? Sometimes it could be peace, restoration, restoring our sense of calm and groundedness, right? Restoration. Support, I see in the chat. Presence. I get replenishment, meaning I just feel like replenished, like maybe imagine your energy levels as a gas tank or a goblet, and it's all empty. So we go out into nature and get it filled up again and refreshed, nourished, right? Nourished your body, nourish your spirit. What else might we get from nature? Connection, curiosity. I'm looking at the chat now. Curiosity, gratitude. So you can see that this, like what we're receiving from nature. Yeah, creativity. Did I put that in there yet? Creativity. It could just go on and on. Creativity, mental clarity, right? We could get well-being, right? Well-being, mental clarity, all kinds of things. So this is all of the stuff that we get from nature. And the other thing that we get from nature is oxygen, right? Trees and plants are making oxygen. This is something tangible. They also bring us some wood for our houses. They grow leaves and berries and fruit to feed us. So this is what we might get from nature. And nature is giving us oxygen. So let's say these are people, might receive oxygen. But we're giving, let's see what this is. CO2 is carbon dioxide. It's what we exhale. So we're getting oxygen, and then we're giving back carbon dioxide, and the trees and plants need carbon dioxide, right? So we are giving and receiving. So we're giving a gift, sharing our gift back with nature. So we're also giving, maybe caring for the environment, for the animals, for the plants, for the trees. We might, let's see here, move these boxes so I can actually see. Okay, care. What else might we give back? Maybe protection, right? We're protecting lands and areas of natural areas. We might give nourishment back to the environment. We're also bringing restoration. Just like we get restoration, we can provide restoration. We can provide this replenishment. Do we put protection on there? What else are we giving? Yeah, stewardship, right? That kind of encompasses that too. And love, I see love there. So love, attention, gratitude. Actually, what's funny is these lists are very similar. So we can give and receive from nature. Yeah, compost, right? Giving back to the earth, receiving and using and giving back. So you can see that we're connected. So the health of the environment affects the health of humans and vice versa. Rebecca's put in sharing stories. Absolutely, right? We give stories of nature, right? Our personal experiences, we share that in nature. We might share that with others. Actually, this is where others might come out. This is us. We're also, I'll just put others here, other people, right? Sharing all of this with other people, inspiring them to also come into this loop. So how does nature journaling fit into this? You might ask. Some other things that we get from nature. I'm going to put it up here. Some of the things that I get from nature is reducing anxiety, stress, feelings of stress, maybe grief, processing grief, sadness. That's what we receive. That goes over here. Joy. Yeah. Joy. So we're giving and receiving. We're in this reciprocal relationship, if we remember. Right. And some of the ways that I approach journaling, I just, was thinking about it. I was listening to Jean McKay's talk and how she asked us to think about our values, not just in color. For those of you who haven't seen, you'll want to watch this video. She talked about values in nature journaling. And I thought at first it was going to be about color values, lights and darks. But she talked about our values, what we bring to nature journaling, like what do we care about? And then I thought about, why do I nature journal and what do I bring to my nature journaling? And I have a background in science, and I'll call myself an artist. Although a few years ago, I probably wouldn't have, because, the way that I think of art has changed since I've been doing a lot of nature journaling. But I feel like, nature journaling, I'll just put nature journaling here. I approach nature journaling with several different lenses, and I'm thinking about 3, but maybe there's more. So one of them is science. So that's my background, right, in science. There's a magnifying glass here. Another lens that I approach nature journaling with is art. A paintbrush. And another lens that I bring into my nature journal is heart. So I think that I combine science, nature, art, and heart. All of that gets to come into my nature journal. As a scientist, we don't usually add this stuff, right? And maybe in art, we don't really add this stuff. And, maybe when we're having, talking about emotions, we might not talk about this other stuff. But I think the nature journal is this amazing place where I can combine all 3. And I'm going to share with you some of my pages and to give you some ideas on how we might be able to combine science, art, and heart, the way that we care for nature in our journals. All right. Let's pull some pages out here. So I might want to approach nature journaling for scientific purposes. So perhaps I'm approaching it through the lens of a scientist, and I am interested in collecting data. And let me see if I can find one page right here. Okay, so this is going to be more scientific looking. Right, this is something I've made up that I did almost every week for 2020, and then I stretched it out to like once a month, and now it's like every couple of months I do this. And this is just to orient you, is I'm collecting this information on all the birds in my yard. And I have separate front yard and backyard, and I have the time going across the top, and I'm marking when the birds sing. So you can tell this is very scientific, because the only time I use a straight edge in my journal is when I make this table. Every other time I make a line in my journal, it's freehand. So this is kind of like in my brain, it's this stuck way of looking. I don't know if it's stuck is not the right thing I want to say, but it's much more organized and scientific, methodical. And so I'm collecting this information, and that is helping me understand how these birds use my yard related to different times of day throughout the year, throughout the season. So I go out when it's dark, and I color code when it's dark. Then here's first light, and then here's sunrise. And then I'm noticing that the different birds come at different times. They enter the chorus at different times. So this might be something kind of scientific. So I'm taking notes, careful notes, the time, and, all these information. So that might be wearing kind of my scientist hat when I'm doing that. Let me see if there's another one. Okay. Maybe there is a plant that I'm really interested in. So here is a twig watch that I did. Actually, this is continued. This is in the spring, but I started in the winter, where these 5 or 6 trees that are in my yard, between my yard and my neighbor's yard. And I would do a little kind of a tiny portrait of the twig to show what's going on with the twigs. And this one's starting to burst into leaf. So by paying attention to the plants in my garden, I think I'm, giving a sense of care. I'm caring for them. I'm understanding, I'm gathering knowledge, and I'm learning about their life cycle through observation. So I don't have to go to a book and I don't have to go to a botany class. I can, but through our own personal observations, we can learn so much from nature. Let's see. Oh, and here's something that's more playing with words. I decided to make a 1 page in my journal plant tracker. So like I would just keep making a list of the different plants that are growing. And then when they started to bud or leaf or blah, 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 so that I can start to understand its patterns. Like I could go to a website or a book and say, when do Queen's tears bloom? And there might be a general range, but I can learn when the Queen's tears bloom in my yard by watching it. And I can keep track of it by putting it in my journal. Some other things I might keep track of are perhaps tiny worlds. So this was a rosebud in my garden, and I was originally just went out to draw a rose because it was so beautiful, and I wanted to see if I can capture the color change of the petals. And I discovered after I picked it that there were all of these creatures living in it, and I felt so bad that I plucked it that I stopped, nature journal it, put all the bugs in here, and then I put the rose back at the foot of the bush so that all the plants can go back. And I discovered there's the whole world that can live in a rose. So by going and paying attention, we might learn a lot more about a plant than we ever would have otherwise. So I didn't realize there were pink inchworms and they were living on my pink rose. Let's see, exploring a plant. Okay, here's another one where I'm exploring a plant. This one was a aspidistra or iron, I think it's called an iron plant. It's a common name. I just know it by the Japanese name. And I repotted it. And so by repotting it, I got to understand how it grows, how the roots grow, how they got entangled, and how root bound they were. There were so many roots, there was barely room for it to breathe. And then I felt the sadness that I had not paid attention to it earlier. So by paying attention to it, writing it in my journal, making notes about what was going on with the roots, how did it grow, and then just making notes about what was the plant telling me. It's about cycles and seasons, and maybe I want to keep track of when do I repot this plant so that I can make it happier next time, right? So I'm learning how to care for my plants, and I can do that by paying attention to it. I could also go into a book or website, but by watching it on my own, I think I retain that information better. This one is just weeds. First spring weeds. I was so fascinated with the diversity that I plucked a few different weeds and brought them home and did much more scientific measuring and drawing, and I was labeling them. And then I was interested in finding out, how do I know what this plant is going to be? Starting from the heart-shaped leaf, what is that going to be? So then I found the second leaf. And even though I knew that the first leaves are always different, kind of nondescript in a plant, I've never really paid attention to these weeds. And so by doing this, not only am I learning about the plants, learning how to recognize them, I'm also learning, creating this connection, this intimacy to plants that we normally would walk by. Going on the topic of weeds, because I think this was all spring, is going outside and allowing the earth to touch me, right? Like I touch the earth, the grasses, the trees, the rocks, the flowers. But by going barefoot on this particular day, I actually was inspired. My daughter said, "Oh, Mama, you should go barefoot. It feels so good on your feet." And the adult in me said, "No, I'm not going to take my shoes off." And then the little kid inside is like, "Yes." So I took my shoes and socks off. I walked on the clover and it felt so good. It was cool and soft and tickled my toes. And then I felt like I was massaging the earth, and I can feel the solidity of the earth under my feet. And it really helped me feel grounded. And then the scientific curiosity mind started to think, okay, if I smush the grasses here, right, with my feet, what happens to these grasses? And then I wondered if I was hurting it, and wondered how long it took for it to bounce back. So I'm caring for this carpet of weeds, you know, and I think it's about just noticing and paying attention. Let's see, I'm going to just finish this journal here. Caring for self is something, caring for our inner nature. So sometimes when I go out for a walk, I have a dog, so she makes it so that I need to go out for a walk a couple times a day, even if I don't want to. And I find that I actually need to. And I don't even notice that until I go out and I allow myself to wander. And a lot of times my nature journal might be a scribble of some landscape or something that jumps out. And then it's just some writing, like a journal entry of, you know, what I'm noticing and what I'm feeling. And on this particular day, I was listening, my mind was racing. I just couldn't settle down. And as I just sat myself down on a log, I closed my eyes, I listened to the sounds, I breathed in the smells. And then I found this yerba buena plant that smells like mint, and it started to soothe me. And I had this desire to want to look in the dirt. And so then I got really inspired to draw what I found on the ground. I dug into the soil and looked at the different colors to see the layer of the dirt. So I may not have done that if it wasn't for just slowing down and stopping. So, you know, self-care comes into this. Let's see, I'm going to find some self-care.
Melinda, while you're looking, we have a really good question here in the chat from Kiki, wondering if you keep more than one nature journal, if one's more focused on scientific versus artistic.
No, it's all right now. Thanks for that. That's a good question, Kiki. It's all together. So see, this is like much more personal, but it's all in my nature journal, because to me, I just put everything in there. I do have a separate journal that I do, a gratitude journal in the morning. I might do some like work some thoughts out, some ideas, but sometimes they spill over into my journal. So this one, I was watching a hummingbird and it stopped and stared at me. And I thought, what is it doing looking at me? And I was really busy that day, and I went into the house, went off about my business. And then I realized something hit me. The idea that came was, I'm not always this fast. I rest too. And then I came back and I wrote down the ideas that came from this hummingbird, basically that I'm overworking myself. I am moving too much. I'm moving too fast. Embrace the slowdown. That's what the title was, Embrace the Slowdown. Because at this particular time in my life, I was really doing way too many things and I needed to slow down. And so sometimes when I go into nature, I might get an inspiration like that. The ocean inspires me, and I might get, you know, going out and watching the sunset or the ocean, and I might get a message of, you know, there are many waves that come into the ocean, but the many waves are all part of one ocean. And it just made me feel like, oh, we're all part of the same thing. We're all connected, right, in nature. And that just gave me solace, you know. And then right on the facing page, you'll see this is much more scientific, right, and analytical. So I mix it up in my journal. So sometimes I might start, I think this is the same day, I might start with something and it's very analytical. I'm looking at it, I'm asking questions, that of noting, observing, asking questions, making notes, making drawings, measurements, all that kind of stuff. And then something might hit me, and something that touches my heart, and I allow that to come out on the page. All Some other ways that you might care for nature, maybe you have nest boxes. I have bluebird nest boxes. So I care for nature by every spring. I go and clean out those boxes so that they're ready for the bluebirds to nest. And so I might, journal. I don't know why I did this. It just was very curious. I think it's a scientist in me. I had 4 nest boxes and I would draw how full each box was. Before I emptied it. This is the English sparrow that was building a nest, and I was trying to keep it empty so that the bluebirds could use it. So I was making note of this is much more scientific. Here's my bluebird nest box checks right here, each date that I checked it, each date that I cleaned it, how full it was. Sometimes I don't know what all of this is going to mean, but the scientist in me is just so curious and wanting to collect data that I do this, and maybe I'll go back and maybe it'll be something that is useful. Maybe by recording a new bird or a plant in my yard, I'm learning about it, so I'm gathering knowledge. So this was the first time we had a Lincoln sparrow in our garden. So, making a page with like what I'm noticing, what I'm wondering, what I observe, how I identified him, and keeping track of its movements. And so by noticing and paying attention to nature and recording it in my journal, and you can see it, my journal pages are not composed. They're not composed pieces of artwork. Really is, I say this to my students all the time, it's just I think of it like scratch paper. I'm taking notes, I'm transcribing the notes that I get in nature into my journal, and I don't worry about where it's landing on the page. And if I wanted to make something pretty that's easier to read, I can do that later, but I don't want to block that idea from coming onto the page. Okay, I think two last pages. So another one is I do a page I call the garden news. So every once in a while, I'll just do a spread and I call it the garden news, and I go around my garden and I just write down what's going on, so that helps me keep track of the signs of the season. It helps me learn about each of the plants, to know what their life cycles are. So here I've got the guavas ripening, the chickweed blooming, and the neighbors' sheep have just had some lambs. And so I might want to find later on, like, what time of year do the lambs, are the lambs born? So then I can look back into my journals and look that up. And then the last thing I wanted to share was one of the things that I love to do for connecting with nature, but also allowing me to slow down and connect with my inner nature, and slowing the chatter of the mind and the busy to-do list. And that's contour drawings. So this particular day I was feeling very kind of scattered and lack of focus. I couldn't work. So I went outside, I sat on my deck, and I started to do contour drawings. And those of you who know me know that I love doing contour drawings, and we're going to do them today. But as I started to do these contour drawings, I was gradually feeling myself settle in and feel more relaxed. So this is a practice for me now. When I feel like I'm not sure what to draw, or feeling, a little distracted or unsettled, I'll come and do contour drawings. All right. Are there any questions there?
I think that there was one question, Melinda, about how many nature journals do you keep? The question was, do you keep one for science things and one for art things, or do you combine them all into one journal?
Yeah, that's a good question. The science and art, that's all together. So I do have a separate regular paper bound journal that I write, like I was saying earlier, the gratitude, but everything else goes into another journal. So I think of my journal, we'll just flip through. I just think of it as a sensory scrapbook. So I'm writing down what I'm sensing from nature. So I'm going to flip through. They're not all full. There's sometimes there's pages that are well, these are all finished, but sometimes they're, let me find one that's not finished. Here's one, like there's no color, right? It doesn't always have color. Sometimes it's just part of the page. Other times it's, it looks kind of full. They're just might be really sketchy. So whatever I'm seeing out there, I will put down into my journal, because the finished page is not the goal for me. The goal is to help me slow down and be present. And my personality and way of being, I do a lot. I move a lot. I have a hard time sitting still. So the journal becomes something that I could grab a hold of, go outside. I might start drawing or writing, and then settle in. Go. Yeah. So they're not always full. Sometimes
And
they're
Melinda,
just.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just wondering if you could explain what you meant by contour. Do you mean just a blind contour or modified? Mm-hmm.
Yep. I actually, all of my journal pages are mostly done by modified contour. So here's one I did today. I don't have an expertise in drawing bark. So I use the contour drawing, which is I'm looking at the thing and then I'm drawing, and I like to do continuous lines so I don't lift the pen. So you'll see these back tracks and these just overlapping lines, and then I can capture the tree on the page. Here's some more contour drawings. So this is the modified contour drawing. So I'm looking at the picture and I'm drawing what I see, and I'm keeping the pen on the page so that it looks kind of messy. So it's not meant to be a perfect picture. This is actually training my eye, brain, and hand to work together. Sometimes they're like really sketchy like this. I don't do a lot of like really finished work. This is all kind of modified contour drawing too. So we're going to do that now. So take your journal out, and I'm going to share my screen in a different way. Let's see. Center view. Okay. There we go. All right, let's see. So I'm going to just describe what I mean by contour drawing. Let me make this bunny a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay. So let's put today's date. June 6th. Is today Monday? Monday. All right, and we're going to do some contour drawings. And this is a really great practice you can do on your own this is a whole brain exercise. I think of it as training my eye and brain and hand to work together. And the more that I do this, the easier it becomes when I'm outside in real life trying to draw something. So I'm going to introduce the blind contour. For those of you who don't know, it is about, you'll see my cursor. We're going to go around this bunny, and our eye is going to go around the margins of the bunny, right? Drawing, and our hand is going to be drawing the bunny, but we're not going to look at the picture. We're not going to look at the page. So I'm going to do a contour drawing here of this bunny, and I'm just going to show you so you know what it looks like, but I'm going to invite you to put your paper maybe off to the right side as far as you can if you're right-handed, or off to the left if you're left-handed, and so that you're not tempted to look down at your paper. And you're going to put your pen, maybe let's start at the nose. We'll do this together. And your eye is going to follow up the head of the bunny to the top of the head, and you're not looking at the page. Your page, you're going to look at the picture of the bunny. And I like to keep the pen magnetized to the paper. And so while my eye is going out to the bottom of the ear and the inside, and then I think I'm going to go over to the shoulder, over to the back, around the back to its tail. And while I'm doing this, my hand is just following along with what my eye is seeing. I'm not going to worry about getting this right, because the idea is not necessarily draw the bunny. We're actually learning how to look at the bunny, and my right hand is learning how to follow my eye. And I'm just going to draw an eye here, and I think I'm done there. Okay, so there's my bunny. And you can look down at your page and it should look something like this, or even sillier. So these are blind contours, and I find that blind contours are really fun because when I know that I'm not looking at the picture, my brain isn't expecting this to look like a rabbit. So I'm going to invite you maybe later this week, take 3 or 4 photographs and just do blind contours and see what happens. So that was a blind contour. And the modified contour is doing the same bunny, but this time I'm going to keep the pen on the paper, but I can look back at my paper every once in a while. So let's do that with the bunny. And you can go as slow as or fast you want, but we're going to go kind of a quick pace so that we don't get too obsessed with the details. I'm just going to do the face, and I'm going to do the eye right now. And continuous line, so I'm just going to draw a line and keep going around the back of the bunny. Oops, I ran out of room. It's okay, because this is about training my eye, brain, and hand to work together. So I won't worry about all the little imperfections. Okay, so there's the modified contour. And you may have may have seen this in an art class. They often use this in art class, as a warm up. And I love doing these for my nature journal. I find that, especially things that I don't know how to draw very well, if I do a bunch of modified contour drawings, I'm going to get better. All right, so let's do a bunch of modified contour drawings today. All right, so this, again, I'm going to say the goal is not to draw the iris. The goal is to look at the iris and train your hand to follow your eye. So let's do this again. So pick a spot on the iris. And if you want to just do the outside edge, that's okay. If you feel like you want to put more detail in, that's okay too. And I'm just going to go around, my eye is going to go around the rim of all the petals. And my pen is just going to follow along. And I'm not going to worry if they overlap in a funky way. What I'm doing is making sure that I'm going over all the surfaces with my eye, kind of caressing this flower. When I do this, I'm paying attention to this flower in a way that maybe I wouldn't if I was standing in front of it. All right. Here's my iris. All right. And don't worry if you're not finished. We're just going to zip through a few of these. I find that when we go quickly, it helps the inner critic just be peaceful. So we'll do another modified contour here. Oh, funny thing, I often end up defaulting to blind contour, which is totally okay too. And don't worry about, again, this is not about drawing a lily. It's about paying attention to all the petals and noticing, how they overlap, how they come off of the stem, how they're clustered together, what the shape looks like. No one's getting graded on this picture. There we go. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. Let's see, you can do the whole cluster, or I think I'm just going to do this one flower here. So I'll just start that big open flower. I like orchids because they have these really interesting shapes, that are really kind of hard to draw when you have one in person. I don't know if anyone's tried to draw an orchid, but the three-dimensionality of it makes it really hard. So practicing from photographs is really makes it easier because it's already flattened. It's 2D. So you can just focus on the outlines. And the more some people might think, is that cheating by tracing or drawing from a photograph? No, this is practice. This is not about drawing the orchid. It's about training my eye, brain, and hand. I think I want to put these little lines back in here. There. All right, we'll move on to this next one. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Ooh, this one's got lots of pointy shapes in it. So I'm going to start over here. And it's okay if your drawings overlap, right? This is not, we're not worried about the finished drawing. We're just practicing noticing. I love the shapes of these bird of paradise flowers. And the colors too. Oops, I didn't leave myself enough room. All right, and we got a little fish. So how are you guys feeling as we're doing this? Feel free to unmute and let us know. Is this stressful? If it is, I'm going to invite you to just take a breath. Just know that this is not about drawing the perfect whatever it is. Just be playful, right? Don't worry about whether the eye looks funny or if you got the fin in the wrong place, right? We're practicing. Yeah, and I see Michelle's mentioning she likes to do it a bit slower. Yeah, absolutely. You can go whatever speed you want. I am just going through these kind of at a quicker pace. You can set your timer for 30 seconds and do them too. I find that when I do them quickly, I don't have a whole lot of time to kind of agonize over whether I've drawn it right. Right, I'm just really going, wow, the red part, this looks like a skirt. It's really pretty, or a red curtain. I love the way that looks. Ooh, I love these shapes. So sometimes you might like find certain shapes that are really fun to draw. Okay, I'm going to do another one because that was really fun. Yeah, you can go whatever speed you want. You can go fast, you can go slow. I find that the more contour drawings I practice, the easier it is for me when I'm drawing live, like in the field. I feel like it's easier because I've done more blind contour drawings. Kiki's saying, I feel happy and relaxed. I didn't know how fun this exercise is. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, wait till you add color. Okay, it's going to be so fun. So let's just do a few more. Because I know you can do this on your own, but it's fun to do together, right? We're all drawing the same penguin together. I'm going to start at the top so we can squeeze him in here. He looks like he's wearing a helmet. Especially with that chin strap. Chin strap penguin. Okay. Deborah saying, I enjoy these and I don't feel the pressure of thinking it needs to be perfect. Love the progression of skill, ease, and confidence. Absolutely. This is why I do it. And this is why I'm sharing it with you. I hope that you have fun with this too. Okay. And here's one more. Just kind of mixing up these different types of organisms. Okay. So we got, you can see the different angles here. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Just get the lines on the page and observe, see how they're connected to each other. Oh, one more. If you have room, we'll just squeeze one more in here. I'll just put it on the side. Okay, polar bear. There we go. I know I have a lot to improve on my mammals, so drawing this as a contour is so much more fun for me than trying to draw a realistic polar bear. But I know that I've gotten better with practice. There we go. All right. And when you're doing this on your own, you can add color in here. If you, let me stop my share. You can add color later on. Okay. Krista's asking what kind of pen I'm using. I'm using a fountain pen. So my particular style is using waterproof carbon ink and adding watercolor on top of it. I've been doing that for a couple of years. Before it was like the technical pens, the micron pens. I used the zebra brush pen for a while. I would just experiment and see what kind of materials feel good to you, because there is no right material, there's no right paper, there is no right color. There's no right way to journal, right? If you've been watching this week, you've seen so many different people share how they've nature journaled. So I just really love this kind of, it's a medium like tip. I think it's not fine. This is a Lamy, Lamy All-Star, AL-STAR, and it's an aluminum body refillable fountain pen. And I just use ink from a bottle, so there's no plastic waste. So this is what I currently love using. Yeah, thanks Ivea for putting that in there. I'm really enjoying this one. So that's what I'm using right now. Doesn't mean that this is, exactly the one that you need to get. There's so many different brands. So, get one, what works for you. I prefer pen to pencil when I'm doing my regular nature journaling, because I used to do everything in pencil and then I go over and trace everything in pen. And what happened is a 30-minute session turned into an hour session because I was redrawing everything. And I found that when I went directly to pen, it was not only was it quicker, I had more time to observe, but it also quieted the inner critic. When I have a pencil, I'm more likely to erase. I'm more likely to feel like I need to get it perfect. So just the pen is, is just really fun to go with. All right. I am thinking about doing something different today. So this afternoon, I went for a walk in a local nature area, and I wanted to share that with you. So sometimes my nature journal pages, I think I was sharing, when I'm out in nature, I will stop, like today I'll share, I went to sit down I went for a walk. This redwood grove was calling to me as I walked by. I just saw the redwood grove and I'm like, I got to go in there. So I went in, I sat down, And then I started listening to the birds. I closed my eyes, and immediately my brain started to list off the names of the birds. That bird, this bird, this bird, this bird, this bird. I'm like, okay, I got to get them down. Get my pen, get my bird, write down the bird book. And I'm like, stop. Because what I really wanted to do today was to slow down and connect from the heart. And that tends to be my default desire for nature journaling, because it's so easy for me to collect data. I don't know if it's my scientific training, or maybe because of in school, we're asked to collect things and write things down, get the right answer, that I needed to get out of my analytical mind. So most of the time when I journal, I'm looking for a way to just give myself permission, not to, not to have to collect data, and not to have to, draw it perfectly, or have it all written, or have the measurements. Sometimes the intention for me is just to be still, to be. And sometimes I don't have my journal, which is, I've been journaling a long, long time, so it's it's a practice. But sometimes I go without my journal so that I can just take in nature and really pay attention. And then I can come back and do a memory journal, which is another level of practicing observation and awareness, right? So you're really having to pay attention to things as it's happening in the moment, because I'm not recording it right away. So I'm really soaking it in. And that for me gives me, really helps to hone my skills of paying attention and being aware. So I'm going to share a video with you. I took a video while I was there. It's about 4 minutes. So we're going to play that, and I'm going to invite you along. And hopefully this is, we can hear the sound, because there's some wonderful birds singing in the background. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it play, and I'm going to invite you to sit and imagine that you are in the forest with me, or maybe by yourself, and take in the sights. You won't be able to smell, but I'll tell you, there's some wonderful smells of the redwoods, and there's this California dogwood that has this yummy kind of sweet smell. And then I can also smell the wood chips that are on the ground, and some other smells that are in the air. And the breeze was blowing. It was a warm day, but a little breezy in the shade. So knowing that, I'm going to play a video, and I'm going to invite you to just be. Take in what you're seeing. Notice the colors, the movements, the sounds. You can close your eyes if you want to, just to help hone in on the sounds, and just feel, just soak it in with your eyes and your experience, and notice what jumps out at you. And if you wanted to sketch while we're going along, that's great too. You can take some notes, and then we'll come back to it. So I'm going to share sound, and do this. Shoot here. Hold on one second. Okay. So that was just a few minutes of being out of nature. And sometimes it's just a quick walk like that that can just reset, at least for me. Maybe you can give that a try. It could even be shorter, just taking a few moments to step outside. It doesn't have to be wild nature. It could be outside your office. It could be your backyard. It could be down in the neighborhood. Just walking slowly and taking in the sounds and the plants. And even if they're weeds, stopping to take a look at the shape, the color, right? Those things that we've learned as nature journalers, how to pay attention and how to notice those differences. And using that awareness and attention to tune into nature to calm us ourselves down. And I think the cool thing about nature journaling is we can use those skills to bring back to us. So that attention that we pay to the trees and the leaves, we can tune into us. How am I feeling right now? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Do I need a nap? Do I need to get some water? Right? Many of us in our world are so moving around, from the next thing to the next thing that we might not stop to ask those questions. So I'm inviting you to allow your practice of nature journaling to reflect back onto you on our inner nature and say, am I feeling any pain in my body or discomfort? Maybe I need to, roll my shoulders back, or maybe stretch my arms up really high, right? Or stand up or sit down or twist my back. So it's just having that awareness of our body, of our space, and bringing our nature journal into nature can help us transition from this. At least for me, it helps me with my busy day-to-day life to transitioning into nature's pace. And bringing nature in that way by noticing and wondering and writing down what it reminds us of, that using the analytical part of our brain, but also our emotional part. What am I feeling right now when I listen to those birds chattering? How do I feel? What does it remind me of? And this afternoon when I was in the forest, what was struck me was the light that was shining through the leaves of the redwood and the shadows that were falling on the ground and the sound of the birds. And then I wrote about just how it was hard for me to settle down at first, just like I told you today. And when I do that, I'm paying attention to my automatic actions so that I'm aware, so that I can change them. So I'm just going to, throw that out there. That's what I use my nature journal for, right? Sometimes it's strictly more, scientific or more analytical, and other times it's just bringing more of that awareness to my being. So we're at, let's see, 10 minutes after the hour. I wanted to do one quick nature journal sketching exercise, and then we'll take some questions. And if you have some questions, you can pop them in the chat too. So based on the video and the calming mood of the redwood forest, I collected a few plants this afternoon. They didn't all make it because they got all wilty, but there's a few here that little redwood branch that made it. So I'm going to share my screen in a different way, and maybe I'm going to invite you to maybe you can draw a tree from memory, or maybe use this as inspiration. Oh gosh, it smells so good. I wish you can smell it.
Melinda, there's a bit of a gray box blocking part of your visualizer.
Yeah, is that one?
Yeah, it was that one.
This is the chat box. That's so funny that it's doing that. Okay. Thanks,
Yeah, we can
really.
see everything pretty good now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is maybe I can see the whole branch. I'm sorry, I can't get the whole branch in here, but I'm just going to sketch this in here, and I'm gonna, oh, here's the other thing. It's okay to scribble. So I'm going to get some scribbles in here, because I want to get the feeling of this branch in here. And 1, 2, 3, maybe I'll do another one here. On another day, like depending on my intention or what I really want to capture in my journal, I might take more time and zoom in on one of these things, right? And then add more detail. But I think this scribble is enough. Put this in here, and I might say, I'm at the Redwood Grove. Today's date. And I'd put the, location. And then maybe if this was more of a peaceful, bringing more of that heart or emotional aspect into my journal, I might maybe write, some thoughts of, what I was hearing. So maybe there are the sounds that I heard, right? And I might list the sounds and then maybe smells. Or maybe it might be just a paragraph of what I was seeing. So I'm going to give just a minute here, and maybe you can write down a few things from your experience on that mini walk with me in your journal. Maybe you can write what thoughts came up or how it made you feel going for that walk. Maybe it's 3 words that come to mind as you're thinking about that walk. Or it's a little poem that you'd like to write. Or maybe it's a memory sketch of something that you saw. Memory sketches are cool because there is no thing to match. So I remember the radish flowers had 4 petals, but I don't know where they were on the branch, but I'm just gonna, put them in here. I don't know about you, but I noticed that my breath slowed with each step. The longer I was there, the more calm that I felt, and how my breathing slowed down. I wasn't in this frantic pace of needing to get things done or get to a thing or doing something. And Megan's saying she loves the scribbling branches. Yes, I'm giving you permission to scribble. One of my people that inspired me with nature journaling was Claire Walker Leslie. When I got her Keeping a Nature Journal book many years ago, I loved that she scribbled. And it gave me permission not to have to draw things, because I had so many books on how to draw flowers and animals and stuff, and I just couldn't do it. It didn't fit me. And when I saw someone else scribble, it gave me permission. So I am giving you permission to scribble. I think of my nature journal as a sensory scrapbook. So this page as I fill it in with that memory and that experience of what I saw, maybe I'm just going to do, these are some colors that I saw, right? And so I'll just have a list of colors. And so I'm taking the pressure off of having to draw anything perfectly. You have permission to do that. You have permission to, it's okay to scribble. These could just be colors. This could be like the new growth, or the old leaves, or this is the stem, or this is the bark, right? And just do little color dots. So you don't have to draw anything. Maybe it's a list of sounds. Maybe they're thumbnail sketches. Sometimes I like to do that too. Like I'll do maybe those plants that I stopped to look at. I'll just put 4 little squares in here, and I'm going to do, one in each little square. I don't remember what we saw. I think we saw like another little flower like this that had lots of little dots on it. And then maybe a redwood branch. I mean, how fun is that? Tiny squares. You don't need a ruler. I don't use a ruler because I like this organic way of the lines not being perfect. Because when it has to be perfect, it can only be one way. But if it's allowed to be imperfect, it could be any way. So I like to do it like this. So you don't have to have meticulous, perfect detail. You can if you want to, but I'm giving you permission to just be, to take in with your senses, to take a few deep breaths, listen, touch, smell, taste if it's edible. Take in the colors and the textures and the sound, the sights, the shapes, and record this into your journal as a memory of your experience. Because nature journaling is about, to me, I think it's about observing, paying attention, and saving those memories by writing them down. So it's not necessarily the journal page that we keep, but it's that experience that's within us that stays with us forever. And the process of writing helps anchor that into our memory. And when we do flip through the journal, it brings us right back to that moment, to the smells, the sounds, the feeling, the emotion, the people who are with you, the weather, the emotions that you had. So I'm giving you permission to use your journal in whatever way feels right. And every page can be different. One page could be much more analytical. Another page could just be more artistic and flowy and, playing with colors. It could be unfinished. It could just be a list. It could be a poem. Yeah, so I'm just going to jump over here to the chat. Kiki's saying it was refreshing, peaceful, sanctuary, and melodious. Oh, yeah, 3 words. Yeah. If you had 3 words or phrases from that experience, right? Maybe use that as an activity when you're out in nature next time, right? You don't have to write every little thing down, just be present. That's the thing. And I think that the nature journal, if you're not used to slowing down and being at nature's pace, then taking the journal with you to have something to write on can be really helpful, right? It brings you to the moment. So Krista's saying, thank you. I appreciate what you shared along with all the reminders to just do what feels right. Yeah. And Susanna is saying, it's such a beautiful thing. Thank you so much. And Rebecca's favorite thing was listening to the duet of your birds in your video and my birds out the window. Yeah. So I would like you all to just take a moment and reflect back on the topic of care, and think, what's one thing that you want to remember and incorporate in your nature journaling practice? And you can pop it into the chat, or you can unmute and ask a question or raise your hand. I just have to tell you that I picked some of these. I thought I'd draw them today, but we didn't really have time. These are nasturtium flowers that were in the forest, and I had no idea they smelled so sweet. You guys smell these before? Oh my gosh. I didn't realize how sweet they were. Next time you see nasturtium flowers, they grow almost everywhere. They're like weeds. Yes, they're delicious too. You can put them in your salad. That smells so sweet. And it's funny because they taste so peppery. So use your sense of smell too when you're out there in nature. You know, sometimes we'll be surprised with a wonderful aroma that we wouldn't notice if we just walked by. I see Megan smelling something. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to look over at the chat. So some takeaways from today. Let's see, scribbles. Best of International Nature Journaling Week 2022. A sense of wonder and curiosity. Let's see. Oh, I want to try the 3 words or phrases concept. Yeah. And someone said, Linda said she didn't know they grew in the forest. Yeah, this is kind of along the trail. There's like redwood trees on one side and a little riparian area. Let's see, this session, so Kiki said, the session is reminding me how important it is to just set aside some time regularly and get outside with my journal. Yeah. And Nancy says a nature journal is a sensory scrapbook. Absolutely. I mean, for me, I just think of it that way. And know that you don't have to write it in every day. Here, okay, I'm going to share a couple more things that for my self-care that has been really helpful. One is I don't have to write everything down. I don't have to write everything down because that's my default, is to write everything down and to have a list of like, oh, I forgot to nature journal that trip. And I forgot to nature journal that thing. Oh, and I didn't nature journal that thing. Oh, I forgot these things. And pretty soon I have a list of 10 different things that I didn't nature journal that I have to catch up on. And it takes the joy out of it. The purpose is not to have a pretty page to show off, right? So if I know that the purpose is being present, then all I need to do is be present, like take that moment, and I don't have to put that pressure on myself. All right, Deborah's saying using modified contours in my morning ritual. Yes, and add color for fun. It's just so much fun. Let's see, make the time to take the time. Yeah, put it in your schedule, maybe give it a try, like for the next 30 days. It's like you pick out a time block every day that you're going to do a contour drawing or something. Whatever fits. There's no rigidity. That's what I want to say too, is do not be rigid. We have enough of that, right? That we judge ourselves. So feel into what feels right? If you don't want to write, draw a picture, then don't. Just be present. Just take it in with your eyes and say it out loud. If you say it out loud, you'll remember that better so that, you can journal it later. Love the blind contour drawings. Grateful for Melinda's technique. I'm so glad she introduced me to nature journaling. Oh, I'm so glad you're here too, Della. Let's see. I hope that you all got something out of this that you will take with you into the rest of your nature journaling. And yeah, just give some love to yourself, right? We all need that. And if we don't care for ourselves, no one else is going to. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, then how can we take care of others? I know that I get irritable. I don't know about you, but if I get irritable with my family and other people, I know that I'm not taking care of myself. And that is a warning sign to me when I kind of get irritable at somebody or snap at somebody, usually my family. It's like, oh, I need some nature time. So I know that I need to go outside, and it's so easy. And yet it can be difficult for us to remember. So yes, thank you, Karina, for the reminder. We do have expenses to run International Nature Journaling Week, to have interpreters to do have the translation done, to have the wonderful videos that Bethan put in, to have them edited, to have the website up, to pay for Zoom, for all of these things, and not even for the time that all the volunteers took. So if you appreciate this and want more of this, then we'd be grateful for you to donate whatever you can. And the link is in the chat. You can also go to naturejournalingweek.com, and there's a donation button. And Eve is reminding me, I do lead a lot of online nature journal experiences. So if you want to follow along, go to sparkinnature.com/events, and you can check it out. I have every third Sunday of the month, Pacific time, 9:30 a.m. You're welcome to join us. And yes, you can find let's see, you can find the recording of this if you want to come back to it. Will be on the Nature Journaling Week website. So stay tuned for one more day. Join us for our last session. And stay tuned to all of the Instagram and Facebook pages too. There's a lot of really fun pages going. So feel free to share. Again, the sharing is not to like for art, like an art show. It really is about giving other people ideas so that we can harvest all kinds of really great new ways to incorporate into our nature journal. So I'm going to shift it back over to Karina in case Karina would like to say anything in the end.
I think that was everything, Melinda. Thank you so much. And
Right.
thank you everyone for participating. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All right. Take care. Post your pages on online. We'd love to see. Bye. Aww. Oh, look at the kitty love. Great to see you. Thank you, Yuki. Oh, thanks for the hearts. All right. Have a nice evening or day, wherever you're calling in from. Hi, Bribanto. We'll see you later. Nice to see you, Lisa. Bye, Kiki. Thanks for all your comments.